Climate change is the most important issue facing humanity, not to mention every other life form on this planet. Earth has already warmed 1 degree Celsius above the pre-industrial average, and if it warms more than half a degree more, it could be catastrophic. Millions of people will be forced to flee their homes, almost every coral reef will be destroyed, entire cities will be flooded, tropical diseases will spread further from the equator, and many, many other disasters will occur. Now, you'd think with such a near-apocalyptic worst-case scenario, we'd be doing everything possible to avert it. Transitioning away from fossil fuels, removing the plastic from our oceans, reforesting, investing in research. We certainly wouldn't be reversing the few environmental policies we have, making new policies that at best pay lip service to the idea, and distracting ourselves with racist fear-mongering and political dick-waving. This is why we haven't ascended into the void. Now, most videos on this topic would tell you some things you could do. Go vegan or eat less meat, don't use straws, take quicker showers, use public transport instead of driving. And while those things will decrease your carbon footprint, even if everyone does them, it'll be like putting a plaster on a gaping wound. And worse, some of the advice, when turned into legislation, does real harm. Take the straw ban. Many disabled people have pointed out that they need straws to be able to eat, and drink, and stay alive generally. And non-plastic substitutes are often bad. For example, paper straws get soggy and stop working, and metal straws can damage your teeth if you have poor muscular control or are prone to spasms. There are, however, small things you can do that genuinely do help. Plant pollinator-friendly plants to help preserve that part of the ecosystem. I recommend lavender, but there are others. When you can, buy locally produced food, get your clothes from charity shops, and yes, eat less meat, though make sure any meat substitutes you use are ethically sourced. These things reduce waste and stop money going to the real cause. Also, it's usually cheaper. So, what is the real cause of this? Well, to start off, just 100 companies are responsible for 71% of emissions, mostly coal, oil and gas companies. To tell individuals to take quicker showers while large corporations pump tons and tons of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere is insulting. Unfortunately for everyone, corporations are fundamentally short-sighted. They exist to please their shareholders for another quarter, and that is it. Climate change is happening on a scale just long enough that it does not factor into this decision-making. This means we either need to force them or destroy them. Now, ExxonMobil Corp, for example, single-handedly responsible for 2% of all carbon emissions, may seem like a target too powerful to even bother trying. What with their net worth of $365 billion. However, their existence is dependent on the current system. Without that system, they are doomed. Now, the first thing you can do is email or phone your representative. Which is better will depend on the country you live in. In the UK, it is better to email. In the US, it is better to phone. In other countries, look it up. It is their job to listen to you, and if you keep doing it every other week, they will have to bring it up in Parliament or the Senate or whatever. The effect is doubled if you get your friends to do the same. Now, you need to be clear in your demands, be polite, and be consistent. Don't copy and paste or you'll be considered spam, but do use repeated phrases. The repeated phrases are important because the politician will most likely have their staff read your complaints for them, and it is best to have the staff know what words to use when they pass on the message. That may not be enough though, as whichever party is being pumped full of fossil fuel money is at worst going to deny the existence of climate change, or at best pass measures that don't help and have loopholes the size of an oil rig. So, you need to make it very clear that you won't stand for anything other than radical action. This means you have to support or partake in direct action. This could mean joining a general strike. Look up the nearest Earth strike to you. They have clear, effective demands, including targets. The more of us join, the more politicians will be forced to listen. There is also a specific youth climate strike if you are a pupil or student. Strikes have a long, proud history of drawing attention to a cause and enabling negotiations. If you are feeling braver, join Extinction Rebellion. They partake in non-violent civil disobedience in order to force their demands to be met, most notably blocking roads. Given the consequences of failure, I'd say these actions are both justified and necessary. Now, not all of you will be able to get out onto the streets, whether due to disability or money or lack of job security or whatever. That is perfectly acceptable and understandable, but I imagine you still want to help. And there are other things you can do. You can make or design websites, make videos, make posters, spread awareness. You also can try and get your community to switch en masse to renewable energy by creating a community fund for solar panels or similar things. You can petition your council to create community gardens. These will create green space, habitats, and education about plants. And finally, when action is taken, we need to make sure this is done right. These solutions, whether reforestation or transition to renewables, have to be community owned and community run. Neither corporations or the state can be trusted. Corporations in particular will inevitably be allured by profit into going back into fucking up the environment. This will just push the problems 50 years down the line. We have an opportunity to build a better world, to take back our power, and there is a part for all of us. The question is, are we going to take it?